Welcome back, my fellow Cybertronians, to the third episode of the Ginger Transformer podcast. I'm your host, MegaGinge. Today, we're going to be talking about the Autobots. We will also be talking about the Primes and the Prime lineage and the man himself, Optimus Prime. And there was a question actually finally put forward to me, one that I can actually answer, and I'm quite happy about that. Did Hot Rod kill Optimus Prime? I have a definitive answer, but that will be the end of the podcast. The Autobots themselves. What do we know about the Autobots? Well, of course, in the Generation 1 continuity cartoon, we know that the Autobots are descended from the consumer goods side of the Quintessons products they used to make. Most pre-war history is a bit iffy, a bit sketchy, because we don't really see a lot of pre-war stuff. What is known is that they were the dominant species until the Decepticons came along. The dominant species of the Autobots had control of all of Cybertron, and we see that there was peacetime. The Autobots, they were senators, dock workers. The Autobots themselves are not warriors born. They were forced into war by the Decepticons and their descendants, the military hardware. It leaves it open to a lot of interpretation. There isn't a lot to say about pre-war Autobots. What we do know is that the war eventually hit a head, and the Autobots had to build the Ark to go looking for energon, because there was nothing, there was no energy left. This deviates a bit from the 80s comics, whereas the Ark was built in both continuities. In the comic, Cybertron was basically this interstellar bullet flying through space, and they were approaching an asteroid field. The Ark was created to destroy the asteroid field so Cybertron could pass safely through it. In both continuities, however, that's when the Nemesis attacks. Megatron and his elite cadre board the Ark, attack the Autobots, and Prime in both hits the button and sends it in both continuities down to Earth with a bang. The Autobots continue to fight on Cybertron, but we don't get much in the way of what happened in between in the cartoon. We don't even get a lot of what happened in between in the comic, because it's like, 3 million, 4 million years later, they wake up and the war starts again on Earth. Has it still been going on Cybertron? In the Generation 1 cartoon continuity of the TV show, yes, we see it has still been going, because you've got Alpha Trion, Elita 1, and her small cadre of female Autobots. Autobots primarily consist of the normal crew. It has Optimus Prime as the leader, and several other Autobots, including Bumblebee, Ironhide, Jazz, Cliffjumper, and others. Most of whom, I'm not going to lie, we never see again after the film, or we see them actually getting blown away in the film. But the Autobots are also guided, or were guided, by a Senate and a Council of Elders who did not survive the beginning of the war. In some lore, it isn't even Megatron that kills them all, it's Starscream who turns up and kills them all. You do get one senator who becomes a de facto Autobot leader in the comics. His name is, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Emirate Zaron, but he was a senator or a councillor or whatever you want to call him in the comic verse, who does survive and goes on to lead the Autobots and has close ties with the Wreckers, another comic created group of Autobots. The Autobots also have the Prime lineage. The type of Primes, they change between lores. For example, not a lot is mentioned about the Primes in the Generation 1 comic book from the 80s. We do get a glimpse of other Primes in the Five Faces of Darkness, Part 4, when Rodimus Prime enters the Matrix, find out who the Quintessons are. We have Alpha Prime, Guardian Prime, Sentinel Prime, all the way up to Optimus Prime, and obviously in the cartoon series beyond we have Rodimus. In the IDW comics, we have a completely different lineage of Primes, none of which were actually chosen by the Matrix, bar Optimus Prime himself. Optimus Prime was chosen because Transformers Autocracy, Megatron double-crosses him after dealing with a threat from another Prime, Zeta Prime. He falls into a cavern, finds the Matrix suspended in the air, it repairs him, infuses itself into him, and makes him the Optimus Prime that is known in the IDW universe. That Matrix had been stolen eons beforehand when Nova Prime was in charge, because he was starting to use it to make what was called cold constructs, Basically, these were not spark-imbued Transformers straight from the well. These were Cybertronians who were like, right, we need more soldiers. Let's just build them. It also explains that as the fact that Starscream's Seeker mode is quite a popular one. He was a factory built, just for war. As far back as I know, for Nova Prime, who's a bit of a head case. Nominus Prime, we don't really know much about Nominus Prime other than he died horribly. Sentinel Prime, who gets a lot more backstory in the IDW universe, and is, no offense, a bit of a prick. But nothing compared to who comes after him, Zeta Prime, who's an absolute psycho. The guy decided, right, well, we don't need the poor, let's drain them of their energy and leave whole cities dead to feed the other ones, the elite. The Autobots don't really come off in a great light in the IDW universe. It shows a much darker Autobot history. You can't help but feel bad for the Decepticons when they finally rise up. So I'm not gonna lie, I liked the IDW universe simply because it showed it was more in depth. There was more character focus. There was more character building. Hell, Megatron, spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't read these comics, becomes an Autobot at one point. Further, he takes the badge off dead Bumblebee, puts it on his chest, and declares himself an Autobot. And it's like, only Megatron could get away with doing that shit. Leads us from Zeta Prime is defeated. That's the mutual threat between Orion Pax at the time and Megatron. That's the mutual threat is Zeta Prime. Megatron betrays him. Pax becomes Optimus Prime. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit about Optimus Prime and the various ways he comes about in all the universes. In the comic universe, back in the 80s, we don't know. He's just always been Optimus Prime. I don't even think he gets called Orion Pax. In this, the cartoon at least gets it right. They give us a bit of backstory on who's going to be the man himself. He was a dock worker called Orion Pax. We see that Megatron comes looking for a warehouse to store his wares. We're wondering if this was available. Orion Pax says, yeah, sure, we got plenty of stuff here anyway, like Energon. Megatron's friendly attitude disappears and goes, fantastic, I'll take this, and shoots him. The aerial bots find wounded Pax and take him to a much younger Alpha Trion, and he just takes him in and goes, he's a good spirit, I'm going to take him in, I'm going to completely rebuild him. He may not be recognisable when he comes back out. Sure enough, he comes back out, he is now Optimus Prime, and he comes out and he just starts shooting away. And, Megatron's like, who the hell are you? It's like, your worst nightmare. That's the origin of Optimus Prime, basically, in the Generation 1 continuity. It is fantastic. In IDW, he's a super cop, and he actually does stand up to the corrupt Senate more than once. He takes people in. He had Megatron in a cell at one point and let him go because he liked his poetry. I kid you not. Zeta Prime decides to wipe pretty much the lower classes. Pax and Megatron team up to take him down. Pax is betrayed and is left for dead by Megatron. Pax at this point continues to crawl through as if he's being called towards something through the tunnels, through the dark tunnels. This brightly lit chamber where the Matrix is just there in the air. He grabs a hold of it, and from his description later on, he said it was like being set on fire. As he was reformatted, transformed into the Optimus Prime that would go on to lead the Autobots in the IDW continuity. There is another from the Dreamwave where he is basically a statistical analyst, and he's he doesn't care about the stuff that's happening outside, the escalations, the war that's starting. He doesn't care. I've catalogued it, I've looked at it, and I personally don't give it. This is the Optimus Prime who is my least favourite, because even at the time he becomes Optimus Prime, he doesn't want to be Optimus Prime, and he basically says, right, we're abandoning Cybertron. Leave it to the Decepticons. I can't be sodded with this. No. Optimus Prime, ladies and gentlemen. Now, obviously, we know that in some realities, Optimus does die, and Hot Rod ends up with the Matrix becoming Rodimus Prime. And this was the question that was put forth. It was asked of me. Do you think that Hot Rod killed Optimus Prime? Well, there was an IDW comic that was brought out a while back. It's called Transformers Deviations, basically their version of What If. And that is the question that it answers. It opens up, it's the Battle of Autobot City. Optimus Prime comes in, starts shooting Decepticons left, right, and centre, as you do. Instead of shouting, lay off, lad, that's Prime's fight. Cup is the decider. He tackles Hot Rod instead of shouting that. Keeps Hot Rod down. So when Megatron pulls the gun and shoots at Prime, he misses, but he doesn't have a human shield anymore. Hot Rod's not there in a stranglehold. And Prime just kind of says, forgive me, and blows his head off. End of Megatron. Prime lives. Like literally all the way to the end of the comic. I mean, we lose Hot Rod, we lose Ultra Magnus and Perceptor and God knows who else, showing that once Prime lives, a lot more people still die. Did Hot Rod kill him inadvertently? Yes. Before anyone says anything, that Megatron never misses. Megatron's always got the cannon on the side of the arm, always on the side of the arm. He's picked up a gun and he's shooting straight from the hip instead of from here. So he misses. He misses Prime. It couldn't be more than a few inches. He misses, but he does miss him this side of the head. And that one shot is all it takes for Prime, who's always shot straight ahead, to take his shot. That's it. It's like end of war. Megatron is dead. And a lot of the events from that all unfold in different ways. Like I said, we lose Hot Rod, Ultra Magnus. For example, the Decepticons, because Megatron isn't there, the ones that are thrown into space, Thundercracker, Skywarp, the Decepticons, they have no one to bargain with. Unicron for them. They get eaten. They're gone. There's no Cyclonus, Scourge, Galvatron, none of them. So, the definitive answer, and it is in comic form, like I said, Transformers Deviations. It's an IDW comic. Please feel free to look it up. Did Hot Rod kill him inadvertently? Yes. It was not intentional, but did he do it? Yes. He killed him. It's a question that's obviously been asked a lot and not enough, that it warranted a comic being created to answer the question. That's this video, but next week we will be talking about the Decepticons, who I'm not going to lie, their origin story, depending on where it is. The Decepticons' story, their origins are usually much more interesting. We will discuss that all in the next video. So until then, my friends, this is MegaGinge saying keep on trucking, and I will see you next time.